from the Novi Home and Garden Show. This is the Home Appliance Show on 760 WJR with your host Joe Gagnon, the Appliance Doctor. Today's broadcast is sponsored by the Homebuilders Association of Southeast Michigan. Now live from the Suburban Collection Showplace, here's Joe.
Good Sunday morning, ladies and gentlemen. Broadcasting live on a Saturday from the Home and Garden Show, the big one, the spring show that comes on every year. And nice to have you all in front of me. We hope you have questions to ask because we are going to try and find the answer for you. And we have a lot of fun doing it. And that's the whole intention and goal of the radio program has been for the past 40 years, to help consumers, to help them with their questions and comments and suggestions on major home appliances. Washer, dryer, refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, microwave oven, garbage disposer, room air conditioner, dehumidifier, even the humidifier on the side of your furnace. You can join me here this morning in person at the Novi Home Improvement Show that's going on today. So, with that all said, let me give you the gentleman who is the co-host, producer, director, he's everything on this radio program, Donald the Hammer Schuster.
You're walking along the street, or you're at a party, or else you're alone, and then you suddenly dig. You're looking in someone's eyes. You suddenly realize, Joe, that this could be the start of something big.
Very good, Donald. That soft voice. Frank Sinatra songs and other musicians of the era.
So let me straighten out the time warp we're talking about here this morning. You're listening to us on the radio. It's Sunday morning, just like we're here every Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Normally, we're here live for you on Sunday morning, so we can take your phone calls. This is a different situation. The show you're listening to now on Sunday morning on WJR was pre-recorded the day before on Saturday at the Novi Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. So we have guests that have come out to see us. We appreciate you being here. We're going to be taking some questions from our guests that are here live. We'll perhaps get in some email questions. We'll be talking to a couple of special guests. We're going to be talking to Forrest Wall, who's the incoming CEO of the Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan. And we'll be talking also at the same time to Michael Staskoff, who is the outgoing CEO of the Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan. That is the organizing group that puts on this entire show, the Novi Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. Also later in the show, we'll be talking to Chuck Ty of SPS Glass Block. He's the guy that does the egress windows. Chuck Ty of SPS Glass Block later in the show. So that's the story. It's being recorded the day before on Saturday. You're listening to it on WJR on Sunday morning, and the show will be open for one more day today. You can still come out on Sunday, April 10th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., the Novi Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. So, Joe, let's maybe use this special situation that we're in today to just kind of take it back to the beginning. Tell us about your history on WJR Radio.
Well, you go back 30 years. I forget everything about those 30 years ago. But we had a lot of fun. It was a big-time show. We had a ton of sponsors. We answered questions every weekend. And back then, the hours were much longer than today. The Appliance Doctor began specialty shows on WJR Radio. That's 30 years ago when they had no specialty shows, and they sold advertising and gave a lot of it away as bonus spots to Ford Motor Company and GM and so forth. And I used to do 8 to 10 hours and Monday night and Tuesday night in place of David Newman, who had a stroke at the time. It was a lot of hours, but it was so much fun. And that has been the intention of this radio program, which began some 40 years ago. Answer questions for consumers, save them money on repairs, save them money on what they should buy, all of that very, very important to our listening audience, and still is today. And although we're on early in the morning, trust me, our phone lines light up at 6 until 8 o'clock every Sunday. We enjoy doing the question and answer period. And Donald, you are the best there is in this business. as I found out in the last 2.5 years.
Thank you, Joe Gagnon. So do I remember for a while that you had a television show as well, and was that recorded at WJR?
I think for 4 or 5 years, I did a TV show where I was the consumer gladiator and appliance doctor, and it was all, I can't remember, Barton or whatever the big names were.
Barton Cable in Detroit.
Yeah, and they used to come into the radio station and tape the shows, and then they'd put that on to every Detroit resident, and that was fun. But that made me very, very nervous. I was not, and I'm not a guy who likes to watch himself on the TV. And the big reason is I look like Gabby Hayes from the old cowboy movies. I have no teeth. Well, I have teeth, but they're very, like you, when you smile, big smile, teeth show up all over the place. When I smile, you can't see the teeth. So I used to hate to watch myself on TV, but I had a lot of fun. We did a lot of consumer affairs things that people, at the time I was a rip-off or a fraud investigator with the state of Michigan, the Attorney General Frank Kelly, and then Jennifer Granholm. But we did a lot on people who would rip off companies that used to rip off people. Like, for instance, a cement job. They come out to a house, look at a couple of stairs, bring a wheelbarrow and a shovel. They collect $500-800 from the consumer, and then they excuse themselves because they got a phone call to have to do another real quick. They'll be back. They never showed up again. I brought some of those people to court as well. Some of them got put in jail as well. And that was my little side hobby, being a consumer advocate. But we traveled across the state and across the country working for the Attorney General. And today, the benefit of that is I have people who advertise on this show, and they'd better do a good job for consumers, or I will be the guy consumers call when they're not happy.
Joe, here's a question that came in from Agnes D. She says, I have a dishwasher that is probably 20 years old. It's a GE pot scrubber, and there's always a half-inch standing water in the bottom. I had a maintenance man look at it. He attempted to clear the drain, and he poured drain cleaner down the sink drain. We waited 2 hours and then flushed it with hot water. Now, there isn't a garbage disposal, but the water is still there. Is there something else you can suggest?
First of all, there's supposed to be a little water in the bottom of a dishwasher. It's shipped from the factory with water in it. And the reason is that on the shaft of the motor that's located in the bottom, there's a seal. You want to keep that seal moist. You don't want it to dry up. That's why there's always a little water. When you put on the dishwasher, the first thing it does is pumps out the water. That's because you don't want that dirty water in there. But that's pretty normal to have some water in the bottom of the dishwasher.
Okay, that's reassuring. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Forrest Wall and Michael Stoskoff of the Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan. It's the Home and Appliance Show with consumer advocate and appliance doctor Joe Gagnon on the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR.
Anyways, nice to see you here.
Thank you so much for having us.
You've taken on a big role here, as you well know, okay? And you're all prepared for it. You've been around for a number of years. And like Mike says, what a nice choice to have to fill his shoes.
Absolutely. It's an honor and a privilege to now serve as the 8th CEO of our great association. Mike has done just a phenomenal job over the years. I've been very fortunate to have learned from him, and I'm just so honored to now take up the banner. As you mentioned, this show is one of the signature things. It's our largest event for the Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan, the largest thing that we do. And I'm glad that he mentioned Brian and Elizabeth, the team here that really puts this together. It's a one-stop shop for the consumer, right? It's some place that they can come. Everybody feels the energy of spring. They want to do new things to their home, whether it's on the inside or the outside. This show has it all. And so we're very, very pleased to be able to present such a show, and we're pleased to have you here with us.
As a fraud investigator for many years, locking up service technicians, closing down heating companies, etc., there's one thing I could say. Don't be shy to come to this show, and I'm talking to the public now, because These people they have to show you proof of insurance, etc., before they're admitted to be an exhibitor. And if they were crooks, if they were scam artists, then they showed up here, I think you'd have people in line to complain about that particular company.
Yep.
So we don't see that. And the reason is the legwork they have to do to get into the show.
Right. We're very, very proud of our exhibit base. These are great individuals. And when people come to the show, not only are they going to get to see new ideas, new design trends, new things in the industry, but they're going to be able to talk to these experts. They're going to see them on the floor, look them in the eye, be able to talk about the project that they're thinking about and get educated. And that's what it's really about, is making sure that they're educated.
And some of these exhibitors, many of them, get their whole load of work for the next 6 months from the show.
Yep.
It's very beneficial for them to be here. They present themselves well because the booths are all beautiful. And they have a chance, like you say, eye-to-eye contact. And they help people as well. Some of these people will give you directions on what you can do if you want to do it yourself. So there's an option there.
Absolutely. These exhibitors spend a lot of time thinking about and planning their space for this show and for our other shows. And so they're to be commended for that. And they really are committed to wanting to educate the public. And
well, this is the big spring show. When's the next?
October. Not until October, so get here now.
Yeah.
If you got something you're planning, now is the time. And like I said, spring brings a new energy with it, despite a little bit of snow sometimes. But no, this is the time. So when this is being broadcast here on Sunday, this is the final day of the show. So make sure you get out here. We're open from 10 until 5. So it's a great time to come out and see really everything for your home.
Yeah, and tomorrow is the next day. Yeah.
We're in a time warp here, Joe.
Yeah.
We're recording on Saturday. People are hearing it on Sunday.
What day is today? Tuesday or?
Well, what planet is this? Can I ask? Go ahead, Michael, please.
Well, I was just going to say, now, special for WJR listeners, you go to NoviHomeShow.com, click on the yellow starburst where you buy our online tickets. You go through, you say, I want 2 adult tickets, 2 senior tickets, get all the way through, and it's going to say, you owe us this amount of money. Then you put in the special ticket code, WJR, discount code. That amount goes to $0. The tickets are free.
I think it just cost me some money. My sister, Nancy Glisson, brought my mother, Evelyn Schuster, today, and they ended up paying half price. I'm in for half price with them now.
He owes you some money. All right,
just quickly as we wrap up, did you have anything else you wanted to ask before I ask a question?
No, you go ahead.
Just quickly as we wrap up, gentlemen, what does the Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan do day in, day out when they're not planning the show? Who do you serve? Who are your members? What's your purpose for them?
Our members are home builders, remodelers, trade contractors, and any and all related suppliers to the industry, as well as multifamily rental property owners. And so on a daily basis, we're putting on educational programming, networking functions for our members. We provide a number of group benefits. And at our core, the reason we were founded is our advocacy. And that's kind of where I came from. In my time with the association up till now has been really in the advocacy realm. So working with our state legislature, working on a local basis with housing issues, and really raising housing issues to the forefront and how important housing is to our economy.
Forrest Wall, who's the incoming CEO from the Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan, Michael Staskoff, who's the outgoing Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan CEO. Michael, I remember you lecturing me one day that it was the Homebuilders Association of Southeastern Michigan, now Southeast Michigan. Why is that distinction important again?
Just because it sounds a lot better. Southeastern Michigan.
Well,
branding is all important. WJR, RWJ.
Let me tell you,
WJR.
Radio is an audio medium. It's all about sounding good. Thank you very much. Before we go to commercial, can I remind you that there's 3 ways you can stay connected to the Home and Appliance Show during the week when you're not listening to us on the radio. One is to visit our webpage. To do that, you just go to WJR.com/appliance. WJR.com/appliance. When you're there, you can listen to past episodes of the Home and Appliance Show. So if you missed a segment or want to hear it again, like this gem of a show you're hearing from the previous day recorded at the the Novi Home and Garden Show, you can just go there and stream it and hear it again. Or if a friend missed it, let them know they can listen to it. Just go to our webpage at WJR.com/appliance. While you're there, you'll also see a list of our preferred partners as well. A couple of other ways to stay in touch. You can subscribe to our show as a podcast. If you listen to any kind of podcast, just search for the Home and Appliance Show, just like you search for your other shows, and you can subscribe to us and listen to us each week that way as well. And also you can email the Appliance Doctor Joe Gagnon at his personal email address. Here's the address. The first 4 letters of appliance, followed by the first 4 letters of doctor at gmail.com. APPLDOCT@gmail.com. All right, allow me to set the stage, if I may. It's a personal situation this week. Normally, you're listening to us on Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and today you're listening to us on WJR Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., but normally we're live where we can take your questions and respond to you right on the spot. In this case, the show you're listening to on this Sunday morning was actually recorded yesterday. We recorded this show Saturday at the Novi Home Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace, so that we could actually meet some of our listeners, and we so appreciate them coming out. But we also want you to let you know that the show is going on for one more day. The show is going on still today, Sunday, April 10th, and it's going on from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., so you can go on out to the Suburban Collection Showplace and take in the Novi Home and Garden Show. But I'm heading out to our guests in the audience, and we're going to see if we can get some questions for the Appliance Doctor Joe Gagnon. And your name, sir, is?
Terry.
Terry, and you're from what city?
Taylor.
Terry from Taylor. I'm Donald from Detroit, actually now Ann Arbor. All right, Terry, what question do you have for Joe?
Okay, on my dryer, I went to use it before and it was just nothing when you try to turn it on. And I found out that it was the thermal fuse. And I replaced it, and it worked for a long time, and it blew again. Is there anything else I should check on that dryer when I'm doing a thermal fuse on it? Besides the obvious, the vent not being plugged up or something like that.
So that's my first question to you. The vent line coming out of your dryer. Describe that to me and to our listeners. Is it 10 feet long, 15 feet long?
7 or 8 feet, maybe.
Is there an elbow in it? There's one where it comes out of the back of the dryer.
Yeah, 2 elbows.
There's 2 elbows. So you're very much in accordance with the codes of Michigan or the United States. Now, here's the important one. How clean is that vent line?
Pretty clean. I clean it at least once a year.
Okay. Is there a screen or anything on the outside where the air comes out through the wall?
No screen, no.
Just a flapper?
Just the doors, louver doors.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now, the thermal fuse was installed by the manufacturer after I met with them, their engineers, and they were doing everything to prevent house fires. And the lint is the big cause of house fires. So they put in this thermal fuse, this is 20 years ago, to blow if the air coming out doesn't get to the outside like it should. I'm going to ask you to double check because you blew that thermal fuse twice and it's doing its job. It's doing its job. Now, you could bypass that thermal fuse. I don't recommend you do so, but you could take the 2 wires off it, put them together and tape them. Don't hit anything metal. But I'd go back to that vent line if I were you and double check my comments here. If there's any restriction to the air, that thermal fuse will blow, and you've blown it twice. That's alarming to me. So take a good look at that, and hey, Donald gives out our email or my email at home, and you're always welcome to drop me a note. I'll remember you, Terry from Taylor.
Terry.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Joe, for anyone listening that'd like to email Joe Gagnon at his own personal email address, you can picture him sitting on his sofa with his iPad when he receives your email. It's the first 4 letters of appliance, followed by the first 4 letters of doctor at gmail.com. That's APPLDOCT@gmail.com. Someone else in the guests will have a question for Joe, okay? Here we go. And your name, sir, is?
Dan. Ellington.
Fair enough. And your question for the Appliance Doctor, Joe Gagnon.
We got a Maytag washer. It's about 2 years old. And did a lot of research, looking at different ones before we bought it. Anyways, here the last 2-3 weeks, the lid doesn't lock and the agitator doesn't agitate. It just sits there in the water. I don't know what's the deal with that.
Now, let me ask you a question away from that. Are you happy with that washing machine the way it washes?
She says no.
All I wanted was an old-time washing machine is all I wanted.
You know, I stood in front of a group in Livonia here recently, about 55 people, mostly seniors within a membership of that Lutheran church. And it was supposed to be a 45-minute discussion, a little seminar I was doing for them. It lasted 3 hours, and no one left. Half of all those people there complained about their washing machine. So let me start again on your subject. Lifespan of that washing machine you have is 7 to 10 years. You are guaranteed a service call or 3 service calls on that machine during that period. And you know what these guys who do service charge today? Anywhere from $75 to $125 to knock on the door and give you a smile. And you've got a lid lock problem on this machine, and that's why it's not functioning the way it should. You probably got a bad door switch on that lid and needs to be corrected. But you can also go to a website that our listeners are very familiar with, and that's repairclinic.com. And type in your model number, see what the switch costs, and they'll even show you a video on how to replace that switch yourself. So the washing machine industry, well, we have a dealer here that sells Speed Queen washing machine. And I'm not telling you to go and get rid of the washing machine. It's got a lifespan of 7 to 10 years. It doesn't wash worth prunes, I might add. Okay, I know. I've tested one like yours. I threw a Carhartt Red Wing jacket I have. I threw that Carhartt in there and took it out after the end of the load, and half the jacket was not even wet. Not even wet. They only allow so much water in the machine, and then it functions the way it should. So the next thing you want to buy in the tune of washing machines is you look at the Speed Queen washing machines. I know it's expensive, but it's worthwhile going to the bank and getting a loan just like you're doing for a car, because you're going to have that washing machine for 25 plus years. And I know old Maytags made in that fashion, and they don't make them like that anymore. Your Maytag is a Whirlpool product, I might add. And Whirlpool purchased Maytag here 20 years ago. And that name is not like it was many years ago. I hope that helps you. Thank you.
We'll take more questions from the audience coming up later on the Home and Appliance Show. Joe, we got an email from a lady named Christine. She says, Joe, I belong to a local Facebook chat room. Last week, someone inquired about using vinegar in the washing machine. Several respondents strongly recommended vinegar not be used, as they claimed it could deteriorate washing machine components. Now, for years, I've used vinegar instead of fabric softener with good results. My washing machine is always clean, smelling, free of residue, and I've never had a problem with it negatively impacting the washing machine itself. So what would you say in response to the naysayers? The answer might be of interest to your listeners, as I know you recommend periodic cleaning with very hot water and vinegar.
Vinegar has been used as a cleanser since Jesus walked on the earth. That's how far back it goes. And I don't believe there's any truth to the fact that vinegar is going to hurt the products. I know bleach will. Be careful with bleach. It'll eat the rubber door seals and rubber everything. But, hey, the vinegar does the job. It has for 40 years helping radio listeners clean their washing machines. And I'll never stop using the vinegar treatment.
Enough said. Thank you, Joe. You're listening to the longest running appliance repair radio show in America. We're originating on Saturday afternoon, pre-taping it for Sunday morning. We're at the Novi Home Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. We're sending it back through the WJR control room in the New Center area of Midtown Detroit in that beautiful Art Deco Golden Tower of the Fisher Building. We send it up to the skywaves, back down to your ears. You're listening to the Home and Appliance Show with consumer advocate and appliance doctor Joe Gagnon. I'm Donald the Hammer Schuster. This is where Detroit comes to talk. It's 760 WJR. Recording the show you're listening to on this Sunday morning on WJR a day in advance. It's actually Saturday as I speak these words. We're at the Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. We wanted to take our show out on the road to meet some of our listeners, and we're doing just that, and so happy to be doing it. So no phone calls today as you listen on WJR because the show is pre-recorded a day early, but we thank you for tuning in, and we want to remind you that there's an opportunity for you to have a win-win situation. We love win-win situations. Here's a chance for you to donate to a great cause and to receive Joe Gannon's monthly email newsletter at the same time. Joe's newsletter is filled with appliance repair, money saving, and consumer alert tips, and you can receive it for an entire year for a minimum $10 donation to Spectrum Human Services. Spectrum is a family services agency working to strengthen Michigan children and families with foster care and adoption programs, assisted living, substance abuse, and more. So to get in on Joe Gannon's monthly email list and to donate to a great cause at the same time, go online to spectrumhuman.org. SPECTRUM, spectrumhuman.org. All right, let's go to our audience here. We have a question, and your name, sir, is?
Jeff Salsider.
Jeff, and what city are you from, Jeff?
Montrose.
And your question for the appliance doctor?
The question is, we have a Roper washing machine, and the I don't know if it's a timer issue or a switch issue, but it doesn't go, it stops in the middle of the cycles. It goes through the fill and the wash, and it'll stop on the rinse cycle. Then you have to reset it by pushing the button to stop and then start again, and sometimes it will. And it won't go all the way to the cycle complete without stopping and starting it. And then it doesn't always spin the water completely out when the cycle's complete. So we have to go to the spin drain cycle and run it again.
Now, how old is that washer?
It's probably 10 years or more. I'm not sure when it was purchased.
Let's go to the pump assembly on the machine. Now, the front should come off of that washer. Take a look underneath the lip in the front. Get down on your chin on the floor, okay? Look for a couple of screws. Take them off. The front will come off that machine, which allows you to get to the components. And then from there, you want to look at the pump. You want to look at the drain line going into your... Does the drain line go into a sink or into a standpipe?
Into a sink.
Okay, so then you know the velocity of the water coming out into that sink. If it's just dribbling out, okay, I think you've got a problem with the pump assembly or the drain hose itself. Sometimes you'll get a wad of lint in there, and it'll plug up that hose and not pump out at the rate it should.
It seems to pump at a pretty rapid rate, and it'll fill the sink, but it's the stopping of the cycles, not moving to the next cycle, like from wash to rinse and then rinse to spin.
Give me an idea of the timer arrangement. Is it a knob you turn?
It's a knob on the left side, and you, it's a push button, and it automatically goes through the cycles from fill through cycle complete.
But the timer itself is I'm concerned about now. Is it a knob?
No.
You turn. It's a push button.
Yes.
That's electronic.
Yes.
That is costly.
That's what I thought.
If you go to the computer, go to repairclinic.com and type in your model number.
Okay.
It give you an idea if that washing machine is worthy of being fixed or not, or whether you go out and buy yourself a nice new Speed Queen washer with a lifespan of 25 years.
For our next question in the audience, let's go to a good lady standing next to Wendy and Al, who I say hello to. And would you please stand and give us your name, please?
I am Nancy Glisson.
And you're from what city?
I am from Whitmore Lake.
And your question.
I was just wondering, this is an oldie but goodie, and I was wondering if orange tang is good to clean the dishwasher.
Orange Tang, and it cleans. I know there are cleaners you can buy in the hardware store and the grocery store and stuff there, but nothing works like this. You use 12 ounces. That's what you need. The jar is more than that, okay? And you use 12 ounces. What you do is you turn on first of all, heat up the water in the water tank, or hot water tank. You want water coming out of your kitchen faucet at 140, 150 degrees, and the reason is there's bacteria in a dishwasher. There's bacteria in a clothes washer as well. So you need to heat the water because the bacteria is going to be killed by hot water. Then you turn on your dishwasher. It takes about an hour to heat up that water. Then you turn on your dishwasher and you let it alone. You just turned it on, leave it alone for 4 or 5 minutes. That will pump out any water that's in there. Now, you leave it there and it starts to fill with water. And when you start hearing the spray arms working around, you'll hear them. You open the door gently. There's water drippings all over, so put just gently. And put 12 ounces of Tang directly into the water in the bottom of the machine. Just pour it in, 12 ounces. Shut the door and let it go through the whole cycle. It will clean all the undissolved detergent that's built up in the dishwasher, which causes door leaks, I might add. It will clean all the undissolved detergent that are on the motor impellers in the bottom of the unit, and those motor impellers have to be clean to push the spray of water into your spray arms at the required amount. And your dishwasher will be clean, and it will smell so much better, okay? And I thought that was kind of sneaky how he did that, didn't you? How Donald
Joe
the Hammer,
thinks it was sneaky because Nancy is my sister.
How he approached
He thinks
the
it was
area.
a setup.
And really, it was a setup. Talking to his sister. How nice of you to be here.
Joe, an email question from Hank in the 517 area code zone. He says, Joe, I have a Maytag refrigerator, side-by-side doors with freezer on the bottom. The water dispenser quit working and the ice maker was working okay. So I changed the filter, and after changing the filter, it made ice once. I have a good water flow and pressure coming through the water supply line. But can you tell me where the water valve for the ice maker and water dispenser is located? The water line goes up on the back side of the refrigerator, but I can't figure out where it goes for sure. Does it go to the filter system? And if so, how do I get to it? If it's behind a panel in the refrigerator under the filter assembly, how do I get the panel off? The manual says there is a water tank behind the panel I'm talking about. Can you help me out?
You know, you're working on a refrigerator. They weigh a ton today. You got to pull it out so that you can get behind the refrigerator and at least have enough room to kneel down. Because on the back of the refrigerator, at the lower section, is the cover, a cardboard cover that is there for a reason. So make sure you put it back on before you finish the repairs. And get underneath there and you'll see the water valve. You just follow the water line. That should be copper. Some of them are plastic. They should be copper. I repeat that, okay? And follow the water line. It goes right to the water valve. And it's a dual valve. The gentleman's got water and ice through the door and a dispenser for drinking water. He's got a dual water valve. And they're very fragile. You know how many water valves are sold for appliances in the United States of America? 100,000 plus. Yes, Art Volo is here putting us all on camera. He knows the answers. He asks questions, and he gets a little knowledge from Donald the Hammer Schuster and from Joe Gagnon, your appliance doctor.
And the Novi Home and Garden Show remains open today, Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi. So come on out. We're going up to the 7 o'clock news now on WJR. When we come back, it's another big hour from the Novi Home and Garden Show. It's the Home and Appliance Show with Joe Gagnon. I'm happy to be helping out. I am Donald the Hammer Schuster on 760 WJR.
from the Novi Home and Garden Show. This is the Home Appliance Show on 760 WJR with your host Joe Gagnon, the Appliance Doctor. Today's broadcast is sponsored by the Homebuilders Association of Southeast Michigan. Now live from the Suburban Collection Showplace, here's Joe.
Welcome to the Home and Appliance radio program right here on News Talk 760 WJR. So anyways, you will not be able to call in and reach us, but we've got questions coming up from a live audience as we're taping this program from the Home Garden Improvement Show here at the Suburban Collection Showplace, going on today from 10 until 5 in the afternoon. We've got Art Vola here taping and putting us on camera. We've got people walking around asking questions, and we invite you to join the Home and Appliance radio program talking about your major home appliances: washer, dryer, refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, microwave oven, garbage disposer, room air conditioner, and your dehumidifier and the humidifier on the side of your furnace. So join us this morning, and to tell you how you can be a part of this radio program right here live, our co-host, producer, director, and everything else, Donald the Hammer Schuster.
You're walking along the street, or you're at a party, or else you're alone, and then you suddenly dig. You're looking in someone's eyes. You suddenly realize that this could be the start of something big.
Just so soft and beautiful.
You got it, baby.
Unbelievable.
So what's
voice.
big? The Novi Home and Garden Show is big, and that's where we're taping the show on Saturday afternoon. Recording the show might even be a more updated term. We're recording this show on Saturday afternoon. You're listening to it on WJR on Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., shortly after 7 o'clock right now. But just a reminder, we can't take any live phone calls today because this is a pre-recorded show from the Novi Home and Garden Show on Saturday. That show is still open today, Sunday, April 10th. You're welcome to go on out. It's open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi. And if you go to the Novi Home Show webpage and click on that yellow burst, you can actually put in the code WJR and you will get 2 tickets for free today. That's a compliment of the Home Builders Association of Southeastern Michigan. All right, Joe, so if I know some of your history, Joe, but I always like to be refreshed, you've got a history that goes back with Jennifer Granholm and who was the other? Frank Kelly, the Attorney General. What's the story on that in your history?
It all started some 40 years ago when I purchased airtime on a radio station. Now, I didn't know what I was doing, but in that conversation on that weekly radio program, I talked about how people are overcharged on appliance repair. And then only to discover that the state of Michigan had more consumer complaints at the Attorney General's office than any other state. And so they asked me if I would work as a fraud investigator. This is Frank Kelly's office. As a fraud investigator, so they could send me invoices of service done on people's appliances, and I could check it out and see if it was feasible, if they're not overpriced. Then I got into the heating and air conditioning end of it. So we did. We put a few service technicians in jail. We shut down several heating and air conditioning companies. And from there, well, let me add, Frank Kelly says to me, along with Fred Hoffecker, his right hand, we think that appliance repair is part of organized crime. Now, I had Claudia Capus write a article for the Detroit News. That's when I spent 3 months working with her. And I still have copies of the news stories. Front page, 2 full pages inside. And Claudia Capus did a beautiful job of describing to consumers, to their readers, what fraud means in the appliance world. And then, 10 years after starting in radio, WJR asked if I would come on the air on a permanent basis. I was doing a lot of weekend shows with Fat Bob, the sing-in plumber, and Larry Patton. They did weekend Saturday and Sunday, so they asked me to join on the air. It was all approved. All started very small. became a big thing overnight. And I've enjoyed all of that. And you today, with all that experience, I can't catch up to you. You're just unbelievable. Thank you, Donald.
Do I remember that your associations with Attorney General Frank Kelly and Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm also led somehow to a threat being caused to your life?
Oh, several of them. The windshield blown out on the old 62 souped-up Chevrolet. People calling my family, asking them or telling them if I didn't stop what I was doing, somebody in the family would die. It was very scary. Quite honestly, very, very scary. But as you know, as a former hockey player, I have the mentality of a former hockey player. I've been hit in the head too many times with the puck that I just persisted. And we did straighten out the industry here. There's a law written. If you go to Joe Gagnon, Gagnon, if you go to Joe Gagnon on the computer and you type in the Appliance Repair Act, they fought that for 17 years. That's passed. That's part of the law. Several laws. Another one on clothes dryers. The vent line was made of plastic or vinyl. That's been eliminated across the country. And another one regarding advertising. I wrote those laws. I'm very proud of that. I wrote those laws and they help consumers. And that's the whole intent of this radio program. Doing a weekly show like we do on Sunday morning. Helping consumers. Save them money. It always has been. Save the money. Make right choices for them or let them make the choices after they learn. I'm here with you to help consumers.
You want to help people. I want to thank a couple of people that are helping us out this morning with the WJR broadcast. Ray Templin here on site helping us out with the audio engineering, and Dave Rieger back at the WJR control room helping us sound good as we go out on the radio. So you're listening to us on the radio on Sunday morning with a show that was previously recorded the day before, Saturday, at the Novi Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Joe Place. Joe, got a question here from Chuck in Livonia. He says, Joe, I have a 15-year-old Kenmore electric range. One of the larger burners, it's like 8 inches in diameter, one of the larger burners frequently will go to glowing red hot after turning the knob down to 2 on the scale of 10. Is this caused by a faulty burner element or a faulty control unit behind the knob or something else?
You're right on there with what's causing it, but I believe it to be the switch. And the switch is bad, it needs to be replaced. And again, as I mentioned here earlier, go to repairclinic.com and type in your model number of your kitchen range, and it'll give you an indication of what the part cost. And if it's too much, then that's for you to determine. But if it's too much for the part, then it's too much for a service technician. Eliminate the product from your kitchen.
We've got the Home and Appliance Show with consumer advocate and appliance doctor Joe Gagnon. I'm Donald the Hammer Schuster. You're listening to the great voice of the Great Lakes, 760 WJR. So one of the guests in the audience, Dr. Joe Gagnon, my mother, Evelyn Schuster of Whitmore Lake. And guess what she did during the commercial break, Joe?
What?
Went into mother role and reminded me of things I should be doing, like promoting the fact that we have newsletters available right here on the front table. This is the very newsletter you subscribe to with your monthly email donation to Spectrum Human Services. And Joe, we've got a picture of you taken here. What year would this picture be taken?
What are you guys laughing for?
Huh?
Really?
If anything, he's gotten better looking, but I'm telling you, this picture was not taken yesterday.
No. How about 40 years ago?
There you go.
You think I want them to have a picture of me looking like I do now? Not a chance.
You know who else hasn't aged a bit over time, Joe? The gentleman that's here right now joining us for a conversation with you from SBS Glass Block. This is the guy that takes care of those egress windows, which you'll talk about, but they're like mandatory. They're like legally necessary if you got people living in your basement. From SBS Glass Block, we got Chuck Ty. And Chuck, may I ask you, before you get started with Joe,
Sure.
would you give us the best way for people to contact you if they're interested in your services?
Yeah. You can call me on my direct cell phone. It's 320-1664. You can also email me at chuck@guardsu.com or always visit my website, spsglassblock.com.
Okay, so the phone number is 734-320-1664.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Joe, I present to you Chuck Tie.
And he's also located right across from our broadcast booth.
Yes, sir.
At the Novi Home and Garden Show. That's going on all day today as well.
Yes, sir.
Chuck, let's go back a few years.
Sure.
There was a gentleman owned a restaurant here, right down the road here on Novi Road, by the way. He had 5 employees living in the house basement.
Yes, sir.
He had a fire.
Oh, yeah.
They all died.
That's horrible.
And that man, I believe, is still in prison today.
Oh, yeah.
When I say, and Donald said it's mandatory, it is a big thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you need that if you're going to be having any kind of anybody sleeping down there. You got, a lot of people in the pandemic are putting their offices down there. They're doing work from home down there now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's definitely a good and mandatory to have if you have a bedroom down there. You need to have that fire escape because, like you said, even in your newsletter here, you get 18,000 fires a year just caused by clothes dryers,
Right.
And you never know what could happen. And you definitely want to be able to save your life, and we want to do that for you in a cost-efficient way so you can put that in your basement and be able to get out in case of a fire because you never know when these things happen.
Are you busy?
Very, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All because of you. I appreciate what you guys do.
Oh, that's nice. And like, how far out are you on doing work?
We're about 5 to 6 weeks right now.
Really?
Yep. We come out and we look at we do an on-site estimate, so it's free to make sure we can put this egress where you want it. Make sure there's enough space on the outside of the house to put where you want it. We don't see any underground utilities, things like that. And then once we get that all figured out, we get you a price, and then we pull the permits. Of course, legally got to do that with the city. I'm licensed and certified to do that, so we make sure we pull all the necessary permits with the city. We're on the up and up, and then once we get those permits, we go ahead and install for you. And it's usually a one-day install. We're in and out in one day for you, so we're not going to cause too much disruption to your house and your family for too long. We try to get in and out in about 6 to 8 hours for you.
And you make it all look good when you're all done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I watched you a couple of years ago do a job for Paul Pee Wee Weber, member of the Red Wing alumni.
Oh, yeah. Nice guy, yeah.
And his wife, and I sat there in the lawn all day while you did the job.
Oh, yeah.
But Chuck, are you over 7 feet tall?
Close. I'm like 6'4".
Oh, okay.
6'5".
Well, you're a big man. You do the work the way you should.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not an easy job for people to get done.
Not at all. No. I got the right tools for it, the right sauce for it. You got to invest in your company, so I try to make it easier for me as much as I can. But yeah, definitely running those saws, you got to have some muscle behind you to do it, and it's a lot of hard work, but nothing I don't mind doing. I really enjoy doing what I do.
You're salt of the earth.
Thank you.
And you've got a great family behind you as well.
Right.
And I'm pleased that the business is doing well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everything you guys do for me.
Yeah, and that phone number again and how to reach you.
Well, I'll start. Let's be in team here, Chuck.
Sure.
You and me both. We'll be like co-host.
Okay.
So I'll give out the phone number, which is 734-320-1664.
Yes, sir. That's my
Okay,
direct
now
cell.
give us the email, the web address real slowly.
The web address is SPS, like Sam Paul Sam, glassblock, all one word, .com. So it's spsglassblock.com.
And then your email address slowly, please.
Yep, it's Chuck, my first name Chuck, at guardsu, so it's GUARDSYOU.com.
Guardsu.com.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, Chuck. One question before you leave. So I want to break down the legality of having an egress window and the desirability of having an egress window.
Okay.
So if I have someone living downstairs in my basement, they have a bed down there, a vanity, their bathroom, they live down there, that's their little man cave or whatever. We need an egress window legally in that case.
Yes, sir. Yep.
What if I've got grandkids that play down there regularly 3-4 hours at a time unattended?
I mean, I'd highly recommend it to do that. Again, you never know when something could happen, especially when you have children down there. You can't put a price on them. You can't put a price on anyone's life. So let us come out and give you that peace of mind that in case something does happen upstairs, a fire can spark off a microwave. It can spark off whatever. You never know.
And then if it's a 9-year-old grandchild, are they going to know how to operate that egress window? Or whatever?
So the way the well is made and the what we have to do to code and make it easy for a 9-10-year-old child to get out. It's very easy to use. The window we use, it pops inside like a door. It's not very heavy. The grate that comes out there, it's designed so whoever's in there, whatever age, can get out as quickly as possible and go to safety. So that's what we try to do.
And one other question. If I were to walk down there as a grandfather and 3 of the grandchildren would run in terror towards the egress window to escape just at the sight of me coming down the steps, would that be a bad sign of me as a grandparent?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, if they run away from you, that's never a good thing.
Chuck, thanks for coming by today.
Hey,
We
thanks for
appreciate it.
having
We
me,
invite
guys.
people to see your display right here in aisle number 9 at the Novi Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. This show is being recorded on Saturday. You're listening on Sunday. The show is going to be open today, Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Joe, got an email question from...
Wait. Before you... I have this in my head. Okay, I have to ask you. Now, I'm all confused. We're being taped today.
Yes.
It's Saturday.
Yes, as we say this.
And then we go on the air tomorrow morning at 6 to 8.
So when people are actually hearing this on the radio, it's already Sunday morning in the 7 o'clock hour.
Okay, so let me ask a very serious question. Are you going to be up this morning to listen to the radio show?
The answer is yes. I tend to be an early riser. Now, I'm not going to feel obligated to be up between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. But when my eyes wake up bug-eyed at 5:21 a.m. and I can't get back to sleep, I'll probably be listening 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. and 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Sunday morning. On
Well, I
WJR.
guarantee you, I'll be listening this morning.
Yes.
To see how well you did yesterday.
And if you had to guess in advance, what will you judge my job to have been?
Could you tell me what time I have to take my pills today?
Joe, here's a question from Terry B. in Clawson. She says, Dr. Joe Gannon, I have a 23-year-old Amana self-cleaning gas range. The problem I'm having is that it won't heat past 350 degrees. If I need a higher degree, I have to turn the knob up to 450 or 500 to get it to move past the 350 mark. Then I have to turn it back to 350. Now, this is fine if I can cook or bake the whole item without having to open the door during the cooking. But if I have to open the oven like when I'm baking cookies or a meatloaf, then the temperature starts to drop and I have to wait until I can get it back to 350. It's really annoying, and I hope you, Dr. Joe, can help me. Have any suggestions for it?
It's 23 years old. It needs an oven thermostat. You need to find out if the part is still available after all these years. And, well, go from there.
All right. We appreciate your help. It's the Home and Appliance Show. I'm your humble show host. I'm Donald the Hammer Schuster. We're here with the appliance doctor, Joe Gannon, on News Talk 760 WJR. 10th, the Novi Home and Garden Show still going on, and you can attend it at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi today between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. And if you go to the Novi Home Show webpage and click on that yellow starburst or whatever it is, you put in the code WJR for the promo code, you'll get 2 tickets at no cost at all, so you'll come out to the show for free. I'm here with the appliance doctor, Joe Gannon. I'm Donald the Hammer Schuster. Joe, I understand that in 1986, the Detroit News published front page stories 2 days in a row that were of particular interest to you. What were those stories about?
It was about the appliance industry being proven as being a big ripoff. Now, when I tell you they were a big ripoff, I remind people I owned a business at that time. And I used to tell people on my little radio show that I did every week, bring in your appliance invoice that you had done from a service company. And people did that every day. Now, the Attorney General, he had some 700 complaints from consumers. And so I met with them, and the newspaper article showed all of the facts about who, and they named names, who was crooked, and how they were crooked, and how they deceived consumers. And one of the big things was, well, and I got a million stories to tell you, but one of the big things was they never left the part. If they came out to change the fan motor on your refrigerator, or a timer on a washing machine, or a motor on a washing machine, they never left the old part. And here's what happened. I brought a guy in on my TV show. He was a service technician. He was feeling very guilty working for this particular company, and he wanted out. And he came to me to confess. I put him on my TV show. We blanked out his face, changed his voice, and he told us that he had a truck, a van, empty of any parts, except for empty boxes, brand new boxes. So he'd come in and he'd look at a motor on a washing machine, and he'd see the broken wire, but he'd say to the consumer, "You need a new motor." The price is exorbitant. Back then it was like $300. And he'd take the motor out, go out to his truck, put the old motor that he just walked out of the house with in a brand new box. And then he'd walk back in carrying the brand new box. And he said, "Ma'am, I got your new motor here." He just put that old motor back in, fixed the broken wire, and collected $350 or whatever the price was. But they do that, and he told me on the air on television, this is what he was told to do 5 to 8 times a day doing service calls. Well, didn't take long. That hit my button. And I took consumers to court several dozen times with me. I carried a man from Westland who had dying of cancer. He had 91 pounds soaking wet. I carried him in my arms into the courtroom. Never lost a case. Always the judge ruled in favor of the consumer. But it was so prevalent. It was so... And there's no guilt from these guys. I mean, I met this one guy in particular and a few others, but you can't live with that on your conscience.
So how concerned are you that this is still prevalent today?
Oh, it doesn't happen today. Not like then. There are service companies out there right now who charge more than they should. They're in a home for 15 minutes and the labor rate comes to $150 an hour when they're in a home for 15 minutes. But time will take care of those guys, because every time they do that and people learn about it, they lose their business. So, yeah, and there's people in this industry who still don't like me. They're still very, let's say, they won't come close to me. Well, we got a guy here, Bill and Rod's Appliance, in this show today, and today and yesterday. They're here, and they stood by me all the time. I went to Lansing and testified on these crooked things and so forth. Stood right beside me as one of the good guys.
Pat says, Dr. Joe, I have a 1982 Maytag washer that works great other than the horrible knocking and banging sound that emanates at the beginning of each spin cycle and gradually diminishes completely as the drum increases to a full RPM and remains silent from that point forward, at least until the next spin cycle, of course. So I had a service technician out here a few years ago, probably around 2018, and he said that he had neither seen nor worked on a machine this old and doubted that even if he could determine the cause of the knocking, he would be able to find the parts. He did, however, replace a V-belt, but that did absolutely nothing to eliminate the knocking sound, but did delete $120 from my wallet. I'm really worried that my machine will die in the middle of the load, so I've been looking for a replacement and have heard you discuss the Speed Queen many times on WJR. Which particular model with the largest capacity and without all of those useless bells and whistles would you suggest? I don't really want or need Wi-Fi, custom paint jobs for my washing machine. Just a good machine that's going to last a long time, do a great job with minimal whistle.
I recommend, if the lady happens to be here today, to stop by the Bill and Rod's Appliance booth. They've got some Speed Queen washers on display, and it's the washer you'll want to buy. And I know they're expensive, but I'll tell you, it's worthwhile going to a bank and getting a loan just like you would for a car. They make the best washing machine. On the literature that they provide to you, it says right on there, expect 25 years of life from this washing machine. That you can expect that. They have warranties. There are a couple models being pushed hard from the factory end right now. As you know, I went on a tour of the factory. Enjoyed my day there very much. And, well, as a matter of fact, today, sometime in our radio program, the Speed Queen commercial is playing. First time in 40 years or 110 years that they've advertised on a radio or television show. So go shop for a Speed Queen. Bill and Rod's Appliance in Livonia carries them with other several dealers in the area. And we're going to chit-chat with all of those dealers as time flows by. Get a Speed Queen.
And you took a trip to Ripon, Wisconsin, to the actual Speed Queen factory just recently. What was one of the more surprising things you saw when you were there?
The beautiful little town of Ripon, Wisconsin, which goes back probably the mid-1800s, and a lot of original buildings there. The Speed Queen factory is right in the middle of town. They employ 2,000 people, and here's one that somebody wrote me was not influential, but it is. The employees, there's 2,000 of them. 2,000. 40% of them are women, which, hey, that is influential. And each one of those people has a button on the assembly line. If they see the product is coming to them for them to do their job, their part of it, if they see something wrong, they are told to push the button and stop the assembly line. You never stop the assembly line. Henry Ford would have went nuts. But anyways, that's how dedicated they are to the quality product they provide.
All right, Sunday morning, you're listening to us on WJR. Between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. as usual. It's a show recorded the previous day, Saturday, at the Novi Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. It's open today, Sunday. You can be there for between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. The Novi Home and Garden Show, Suburban Collection Showplace. I'm Donald, the Hammer Schuster. He is the appliance doctor and consumer advocate, Joe Gagnon. You're listening to the Home and Appliance Show on News Talk 760 WJR. This show was recorded the previous day on Saturday afternoon at the Novi Home and Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. So no live phone calls today, but lots of good consumer information from Joe this morning. And then a reminder that there's a few ways to stay connected to the Home and Appliance Show during the week. You can visit our webpage at wjr.com/appliance. When you're there, you can listen to past episodes of the Home and Appliance Show. If you missed a segment or want to hear one again, you can stream it and listen right there while you're on our webpage. And you can also see a list of our preferred partners. That's at wjr.com/appliance. Another way to stay in touch is to subscribe to our podcast. You can listen to the show on the radio, but you can also hear it in podcast form. So if you listen to podcasts, you're going to get our show the same way you got all the other podcasts. Just search for the Home and Appliance Show, and you can listen to it every week in that format as well. You can also email Joe Gagnon, the Appliance Doctor, at his own personal email. You just need his address, and here it is. It's the first four letters of appliance, followed by the first four letters of doctor at gmail.com. That's APPLDOCT@gmail.com. A question from Steve, Joe. He says, I have an LG front-load washer, 16 years old. Recently, the spin cycle has gotten very loud. Could this be an issue with the bearings? Is that something that can be repaired in a cost-effective way? Or do I need to eventually just replace the machine? Or is it some other problem? The machine still works fine, just excessively loud during the spin. And as such, I have continued to use it, tolerating the increased noise, but your guidance would be appreciated.
Well, first of all, you should have a service technician look at it, because it could be a broken spring in there and things are bouncing around. But if not, the common thing on a front-load washing machine is that the bearing goes bad. Now, in the 1950s, Westinghouse made a front-load washing machine. And good washing machine. The bearing went bad in the back of the washing machine. You put a new bearing in there. I think the cost of the bearing was less than $30. And you change the bearing. And I've changed several of them. Yeah, it took me 15 minutes. Walk in, walk out. Today, if you have a bad bearing on a front-load washing machine, you can anticipate a bill of $500 to $600 to replace that bearing. You got to replace the whole drum, not just the bearing like it was in the old days. So the front-load washing machine, which came out and made a big splash, all the newspapers in the country said, well, top-load washing machines will not be in existence next year. they were all wrong. Today, the more common purchase of a washing machine indicates that people want the old-fashioned top-load washing machine with an agitator, I might add. So, go shopping before you spend $650 or whatever on replacing the bearing on that washer.
If you'd like some good consumer tips just like that, but you'd like them in written form, here's an invitation to sign up for Joe Gannon's monthly email newsletter. If you do so, you'll be helping out a great cause in the process, and not with a lot of dollars out of your pocket. For $10, you can get an entire one-year subscription where you'll get an email the first of every month from Joe Gannon with just the kind of consumer tips you're used to hearing on the radio show, and you'll make a donation to Spectrum Human Services at the same time. Spectrum is a family services agency working to strengthen Michigan children and families with foster care and adoption programs, assisted living, substance abuse, and more. And the newsletter is filled with appliance repair, money-saving, and consumer alert tips. I mean, it's a win-win situation. So to get in on Joe Gannon's monthly email list, go online, sign up at spectrumhuman.org. SPECTRUM, spectrumhuman.org. Joe, we're here on a Saturday afternoon pre-recording this show for Sunday morning on WJR at the Novi Home Garden Show at the Suburban Collection Showplace. And as always, whenever you make an in-person appearance, as you're doing today, you wear your white doctor's smock and your stethoscope. What's the history on you wearing this garb when you're in public?
Well, the hockey team used to go to Florida, spend a week down there. 126 hockey teams from around the world. Some of them just skating. They should have been using double runners. Anyways, I'm bunking with the team doctor. He and I are in a room together, okay? And while I'm there in that 1 week, 3 people walk up to him in a restaurant, on a sidewalk, and they walk up to him and they say, "You're Dr. Gallucci." And he say, "Yep, you're the doctor who brought my child into the world when the woman gave birth." And I just couldn't get over that. How could people walk up and some of these people said, "Yeah, that child's a teenager today," or they never forgot the face of their doctor. And that's what he said to me. When I started in radio 40 years ago, this was all going on. He said, "Go and get yourself a doctor's smock and a stethoscope." He said, "It'll help you. It'll help people remember who you are." So this is not the same one I bought 40 years ago, okay? But it does the job. Let's put it that way.
Joe, Bill writes, "I found a puddle of water in front of my Samsung refrigerator last night. I pulled it out and turned off the water line. Eventually, the leak stopped. Searching the internet, it sounds like a lot of people had issues with the drain inside the refrigerator behind the shelves and panel, but their symptom was water inside the refrigerator, under the crisper or what have you. And although I have a tiny bit of water there, it was nothing compared to what I was seeing on the outside and certainly what they were experiencing on the inside. So what might be causing my issue?"
Go into the freezer section. On the floor of the freezer, you're looking for water, you're looking for ice, because it'll freeze. And if you have water down there, you got a plug drain in the defrost system, which can be repaired by you. It's a bit of a job, and it's expensive to have a service technician take a look at it because they charge by the hour or a set price like they do in the auto industry. But I go there first. Now, he shut the water off to the ice maker or water dispenser, and it stopped the leaking. So I would make claim that, hey, maybe you've got a broken water line inside the product. Or go to the back and make sure it's not leaking from the water valve. And am I going to take my leave now, Don, as we say goodbye?
We're going to wrap it up for another week. It's been a pleasure to be out here and be able to chance to meet some of our listeners. And the Novi Home and Garden Show, we're on the radio on Sunday morning, and listeners can still go out there today, Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pleasure to work with you. I'm Donald the Hammer Schuster. This is consumer advocate and appliance doctor Joe Gannon. We're here for you every Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on News Talk 760 WJR. We are the Home and Appliance Show.
From the Novi Home and Garden Show, this is the Home Appliance Show on 760 WJR. with your host, Joe Gannon, the Appliance Doctor.